Let's go to our next one. This was sent to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com from Charlie in Starkville, Mississippi.
Oh, boy.
Jake Roberts recently took credit for mentoring some of WWF's top stars early in their careers. Roberts said, quote, "Without me, there is no Undertaker. Without me, there is no Steve Austin.
What?
I even helped Shawn Michaels as much as I could."
Oh, boy.
What are your thoughts on Jake taking credit for mentoring WWE legends?
I mean, again, Jake worked with Undertaker when Undertaker first started in the WWF. And yes, Jake was there in the King of the Ring final with Austin.
Was he working a lot with Austin behind the scenes, preparing him for his run as Stone Cold?
No, fuck it. However, Jake talked Vince into it. And let me say this. With The Undertaker, yes, Jake may very well have given Mark, advice or sat down and talked to him or whatever when they worked together when Taker was first there. I can't say that wouldn't have happened. I think that The Undertaker, without the presence of Jake Roberts in his life, would probably have ended up in the same place, same way. Everything would have worked out pretty much the same. With Austin, no, that was the period of time where Jake had talked Vince into giving him a job again, said, oh, yeah, and Vince was always looking for people for the creative team, unfortunately. And a lot of people in wrestling had said for years, well, that Jake, the way he can talk and he's got the psychology, he took very few bumps, but he got the people into his matches. He knew the wrestling business mentally. And that's true. The problem was Jake is one of those guys that, the statement is those who can't do teach. Well, the opposite of that is sometimes the best coaches are not necessarily the star players, right?
That's right.
And so Jake could get himself over and could talk for himself and knew how to put his matches together. But I never really particularly saw any brilliance in Jake trying to book for other people or in Jake trying to impart his psychology to other people. It worked for him, but he was a different case. It didn't work for everybody. And so Vince was trying to, and we've talked about it before, he put Jake on the creative team, trying to get something out of him like that. And he was still working not necessarily a full schedule, but some part of schedule around in between middle of 96 through early 97. That's when that experiment came. And we told the story about how Shotgun Saturday Night and Jake showing up 9.5 hours late to the taping put an end to the experiment. But no, Austin got the 316 line because Jake was at the time doing the born-again Christian, I've redeemed myself bit. And so that's the line. You say, well, John says this. Well, Austin 316 says, I just whipped your ass. That peripheral involvement, Austin's matches with Jake's matches at that point in time were bloody fucking rotten because he wasn't that old, but with the miles on his body and the fact that he hadn't taken care of himself and the style had picked up in tempo. Go back and watch Jake's 1996 matches. Bleh, right?
And let's remember how it started. He got booked for that Royal Rumble and it popped a surprising number. And then all of a sudden Jake was there every week.
Yes. And again, it's the Royal Rumble. We've talked about it. That's a wonderful time to bring people back and nostalgia and etc. But that doesn't mean they need to be added to the creative team and the roster. So that was the peripheral involvement that Jake had with Steve Austin and his rise. And again, he may have given him some advice in the locker room, but once again, besides Austin 316 might not have come up. So Jake can crow all he wants about those t-shirt sales, but Steve Austin, the talent, would have gone in the same direction if he'd beat somebody else at King of the Ring instead of Jake. So, I'm not trying to diminish Jake as the talent that he was, but for him to say that, oh, well, the Undertaker wouldn't be anybody or Steve Austin wouldn't be anybody without me. Oh, please. That was talk about a favor fucking job. That was a favor job that he was given. And let's just bring it all out in the open since I'm grumpy today and we're here. The guy is such a fucking failure as an adult male human being that he gets a job for the WWE when nobody else in the wrestling business is anxious to hire him. And he comes up there with no fucking driver's license because he hasn't had charge of his own fucking life. And so he's got no driver's license, so people have to fucking carry him around. Not only me, I have to fucking stop in Stamford and pick him up and take him to Vince's house on Wednesdays. Bruce Pritchard had to pick him up and take him to the office sometimes. He would ride with the boys, and as a member of the office, as a member of the creative team, he actually made the Godwins, Phineas and fucking Mark Canterbury, stop in Stamford and go to a crack house on the way to Madison Square Garden while they're carrying him in their car because he don't have a driver's license. And then he was supposed to come up on Mondays and go home on Friday afternoons because he was still living in Atlanta and work in the office and do writing and everything up until that point. Well, then, and hey, I'm not criticizing anybody for trying to get out of that office. I did on a regular basis, but I lived there. I made the move. They're flying him up and back from Atlanta. He's supposed to come up on Monday morning, go back on Friday afternoon. Well, then he starts coming up on Monday afternoon, going back on Friday morning. And then the phone call would come that, well, gosh, the kids are sick, so I'm going to come on Tuesday. And then he said, well, shit, I got to get home because I think Cheryl, he was still married to her at the time, she's sick, and I got to get back on Friday morning. And then the week came that he called and said, well, I don't think I'm going to be up there. We're all sick. It was a goddamn plague-ridden home at the Roberts house. So that was, and again, everybody says I'm hard to get along with. All I demand is perfection. Everywhere I've ever showed up for a job, I had my own transportation, a fucking driver's license, my own goddamn insurance. I was a grown adult man able to take care of my business and get myself from place to place without assistance. But anyways, that was Jake's sojourn there. And no, he was a big star. He was a great wrestler in his day till his personal habits, picadillos, and demons destroyed his mind, body, and everything else. And he would have lasted longer in the business had not all that happened. And he was very good at what he did, but I didn't see anything to Jake while working with him as a booker because he wasn't really trying. And at that time, I don't see that he was contributing mightily to any other young upcoming prospects.
And when he left, no one rushed to hire him.
No, he went back home and stayed there.
No, he didn't just stay there. He did the Barry Blaustein movie.
Oh, shit, that's right. I forgot about it. Well, no, they were already in process. No, that was later. Yeah, so there you're right.
All right, well, that was Jake's contribution to Shawn Michaels, Steve Austin, and The Undertaker. Let's get another question here. Jim,
he might have taught Shawn Michaels some shit, but I think none of it probably revolved around wrestling. Most of it probably revolved around pharmaceuticals.
You could say a lot of things about Shawn Michaels. I've never heard about him drinking his own piss.